Wow, what a room. Thank you guys so much for having me. I wanted to give you a little bit of a backstory about myself as I start telling you about the longest table, which you're going to experience today at lunch. I was a kid who left Iran at 12 in the middle of the Iranian Revolution. I lost my community in doing that and landed here in the United States. And the way I tried to regain community was by joining and doing. And I did that in high school and college and all kinds of crazy things, but really in the world of work. And then something happened, and that was COVID. So when the pandemic hit, I was the chief marketing officer for Nextdoor. And I was in New York, and like you heard for some other people, COVID hit New York early and hard. By the summer, people started saying, including my board, that New York City was dead. I was living in Chelsea, and at 7 o'clock we would get out and clank the pots and pans, and I didn't really think we were dead. So in August, one morning my husband goes to get groceries that we're going to wipe down with Lysol wipes, and I get on the computer and email 20 friends and say, I'm tired of these stories about New York being dead. I don't know what to do, but I'm game to get on a call. Who's in? And we started to have these phone calls every Monday night. So pretty quickly, this grew to be a pretty large group because we were all home and nobody had anything to do. But what happened is we had a lot of ideas, but quickly we came to the realization that one thing we could do was lean into changing the narrative around our city. So we decided to pay the artists a stipend. We raised a little money from friends and family. We pay the artists a stipend, and then we would have them perform outside in socially distant ways, and then we would amplify that on digital and earned media as a way to remind not just the world, but ourselves that we were very much alive. So let me show you something.
I've only been back in the city for a few weeks, and I gotta say, it feels like a huge piece of the city is missing.
We're approaching 7 months of no Broadway in New York City, and that's never happened before.
Today, a spark of energy in the heart of an otherwise sleepy theater district.
Michael McElroy and Tom Kitt have gathered the community to sing Sunday from Sunday in the Park with George.
We all felt that we needed to be together to make a statement, to show that we are here. So I'm thankful to NYCNext.
New York City Next was a volunteer organization leveraging the arts to reimagine the city and ensure an even better New York when we come out the other side.
A lot of us moved here to pursue our dream of being on Broadway, and we can't do that right now. But what we can do is plan for the future.
Bernadette Peters is here.
Norm Lewis, Gavin Creel, Sierra Bogus, Aiden Espinoza.
Anytime they say Bernadette Peters is coming, I'm in.
We get to literally yell into Times Square. This ain't an ordinary day.
When people stumble upon this performance in the middle of Times Square, I want them to feel all of the beauty and the excitement and the joy that New York City has to offer and to be reminded of that.
The Broadway community is the heartbeat of New York City.
For me, it's overwhelming. A lot of these people I haven't seen in a long time. It just brings me joy.
Our industry is not just our job, it's our community, it's our family, it's our sense of purpose, it's our identity.
To be able to get together and sing together was medicine.
To share our collective energy.
I haven't felt that feeling in so long.
I was very emotional through it.
Even in the distance, you can still feel the power of what it is to come together.
Music is hope. It speaks to our souls. It lifts us up.
It's part of expressing who we are and discovering who we are.
The world needs theater. New York City needs theater. It will come back.
So this was really a moment that came together because of the power of community. And we did about 14 of these pop-ups. We were invited into different parts of Manhattan and other parts of the boroughs to do different kinds of pop-ups. 2 years later, as the city had opened up, I saw this picture. I now know that it's iftar in Egypt, and people were gathered together across a long table sharing a meal. And I posted it on my personal Nextdoor and said, what if we did that? What if we gathered with the neighbors that we've gotten to know and those that we don't know? And I got 280 reactions and 201 comments. I knew that that was a signal. It led to me meeting 8 neighbors I didn't know, and I said to them, okay, we're gonna try this. My husband at the time, we were in the middle of launching a campaign for the city. I'd left my corporate job. He said, sweetie, that's one too many. I said, well, you don't have to be involved. So with these 8 strangers, and you know that wasn't true, right? So anyway, with 8 new friends, I said, we'll start a Google Doc. They said, what is that? So with 8 new friends, we started what is now the longest table. The proposition was simple. We'd bring tables and chairs, and you would bring friends and food. We did this in 6 weeks. We didn't really know if it was gonna work. We were flyering, I was putting posters underneath people's doors. My neighbor David said, you're crazy, this is never gonna work. Because you can get a permit in New York, but people don't have to listen to actually move their cars. The first year we did it, 500 neighbors showed up. The second year we did it, 700 neighbors showed up. And we were very intentional to reach out to all the different nodes, all the different parts of the community, from the police to the EMT to the housing projects. And it was actually a really miraculous 2-hour lunch on Sunday. We actually look at the Farmer's Almanac because we have no rain day. A lot of people look out for us. Last year when we did it, it was our 3rd year, and I'm gonna show you what it really looks like.
Community is the thing that throughout my life has helped me at every step of the way.
Community is really vital to the health of a city.
It doesn't feel like it's effort to meet people for the very first time or to meet them again for the 10th or 11th time, and that's what makes all of this so wonderful.
For me, especially coming from China and an immigrant in New York City, community means everything to me.
Community, it's like they say, it takes a village, and your community is your village.
As New Yorkers, we're so often alone that it's super special when you're able to connect with your neighbors IRL.
We all need a sense of belonging, particularly these days where there's so much division, to just be with each other and be humans and sort of have a shared humanity.
I always love that drone shot. That video was made for us by a volunteer. The entire effort has been volunteer driven. This past year, we got a pretty good amount of media attention. I love to say that the New York Post never does a positive story, but they did here. And because from the very beginning, just like what we'd done with the Moment for Broadway, we were very open source. We would share what we were doing with anybody who called, because it was never about us. We did a toolkit, which you can see here on the left. And so people would find us on the internet and they would want to know how to replicate one. And people started doing these in other parts of the US and actually even abroad. And we got on Good Morning America. And here you can see Doris Youngblood.
The idea has spread far and wide. Doris Youngblood created the longest table in Oklahoma City in October.
We had people from very diverse backgrounds, and gosh, it was across generations. We had a 90-year-old and an 8-year-old, and people were engaged in sharing their food, talking to each other, and just having a great time.
People breaking bread and satisfying the hunger for human togetherness.
So since October, something really incredible has happened, because I want to tell you this effort is primarily run by Debbie, me, and my husband as a side hustle, and then volunteers and favors. So people find us via a Squarespace website that scarily I update myself, and we've had over 200 inbounds from cities, large rural areas, from Sweden to Berlin, and it's actually kind of amazing. We probably get a couple of inbounds a day, and then we get on the phone and walk them through the toolkit. 20 have already happened, as you heard from Doris Youngblood, but 36 are planned actually moving forward. In fact, one just happened in Vienna, Virginia, and one's coming up in Brooklyn Heights. But what's interesting is people do this in a way that fits their community. We don't actually run it. We coach them, we give them the toolkit, but they do it in a way that works for their neighborhood. So this is Western Washington University. They've done it at their college. Cloverdale has done it for 3 years. Kansas City did it in the church parking lot. And then Rockefeller Center actually did it in front of 30 Rock. They invited their tenants to come. I was like, why do we have to use a stick to make people to come into the office? Why don't we remind them that it's fun? And they did it, and they're going to be doing it again. Everybody who's done it does it again. The key, the magic to this event is participation. We invite people to participate in any way we possibly can find. As a chief marketing officer, I led with command and control, right? I managed big teams, I told them what to do. This is not how the longest table works. It works because it's completely grassroots and you have to give up control. It's like a different leadership muscle. We didn't know that we were setting out to solve a problem. We just had an idea and we did it. But the problem that we're trying to solve is actually loneliness, division, and the lack of belonging. I mean, when you think that 1 in 2 are experiencing a form of loneliness and 74% of Americans feel a sense of non-belonging in their neighborhood or community, it's actually incredible. So the last 2 years we did research because we love a good OKR. And what we found is that 8 out of 10 people who come feel less lonely. 87% connect with new people, 79% feel less lonely, 82% want to get involved. And that's my actual favorite stat because I think it's a warm invitation to get people to actually get civically engaged in whatever way works for them. So I thought long and hard about giving you 3 key takeaways from what we've learned that maybe will have some value for you. One is invite participation. When people participate, the event is created with them, not for them. Lead with grace and trust. People show up on these calls, volunteer calls, who I don't know. And they'll say, oh, I'll organize the day of volunteers. And normally I'd be like, well, who are you? Now I say, oh, okay, that sounds good. And then share hosting responsibility. This is a key thing. You're all here because actually you are all nodes of hosting in some way or form. But what we do is we get people to be mini hosts all along the table, and then we have volunteers who act as hosts to make sure if people come by themselves or 2 people, that we actually walk them to a table and introduce them, and actually people then bring them into that group. It really makes a difference. It creates this really inclusive environment, and I would say to you, that's definitely one of the big unlocks. So, we need you. So a couple of you have already invited me to tell you a little bit more, give you a toolkit. We definitely would love to do that. But since January, we're an official nonprofit. This is a new role. Debbie, Andy, and I are learning about being a nonprofit and what that means. We'd like to take this signal and actually make it into a big movement, but we don't really know how to build capacity and fundraise in this world that we're new to. So if you have any ideas, we'd definitely be interested. And the one thing I would say to you is 2026, how about tables across America? Instead of hands across America, I think, I like big dreams. We could do that. Thank you.